pass out catalogs, right? Walk in, and then you kind of just jump into the WBT piece, right? So, not sure if you guys have heard of WBT in the past. Kind of quick history on us and who we are is, first off, WBT it stands for Wire Basket Tray. We keep it real simple. It's all we do. It allows us to really focus in on the one product set and do it really well. Do a couple of things. It's we were able to bring labor savings to you guys. We're also able to cut costs on the material. That way you can save on all avenues. The other thing we can get it to you guys really fast. We know that it's a project driven product, and we can get it out the door. So first thing, kind of where we came from and what we did in the past was, if you guys have heard of Flex Tray, our ownership group ran Flex Tray for a bunch of years. When Beeline came in 2008, they split off and started WBT. So for the first couple of years, they really wanted to ramp up machining and really make sure that they had the capability before branding heavy as WBT. And so we reached out to our metals manufacturers that do racks and cabinets and those things really well and said, hey, let us make your mesh tray for you. So most of them agreed. We still have those OEM agreements in place today. But in doing that, it doubled and tripled our capacity, and so we now have more capacity than a Capfill or Beeline or any tray manufacturer in the United States. So we get the product out quick. Just to show you a quick side-by-side comparison of product, this is the market leader. This is Capfill. They do a really good job. They've been in the market for 100 years doing mesh tray, and you guys have probably installed it a dozen times. So this is WBT's construction in a 2x4 next to Capfill. First thing you're going to notice is it's a much more robust product, which it is. The other thing you're going to notice is we switched up the rib wire on the tray. The traditional way of doing it is a round wire that runs from east to west on the tray. That's how Beeline does it. That's how Capfill does it. We flattened that out. We call it our shaped wire. The reason that we do that is because basket tray, regardless of who's putting it in, whether it's an electrical contractor or a datacom contractor, it's still a data product at the end of the day. So what's going in here is category cable. It's your Cat 5, it's your Cat 6, and over the years there's been changes. We've gone from Cat 3 to Cat 5 to 6, 6A. Cat 7's a standard now. It's come over from Europe, so you do see that getting installed. And in doing that, the cable jackets themselves have gotten larger and larger. The OD on the cable jacket's gotten bigger and bigger over the years. And so when you're running in a commercial space, you're in a warehouse, you're in Target, you're in a college, and you have 1,000 cables running through a 32-inch wide tray down a hallway, you have a large cable bundle. You can have up to 1,000 cables in that building that are going to be going down that basket tray. And what that causes is you have the top cables that are crushing the cables on the bottom. So when you have a round cable jacket against a little round wire like this, you can get failures in that cable. A lot of times contractors will point back and think it's in the closet. They think it's failures at the patch cord level, but it's actually in the cable in itself. So if you hook up a fluke tester to the cabling, you'll see failures in those bottom cables. Just by flattening out the rib wire in the basket tray, it's a 400% increase in surface space over a 10-foot span, which is a standard stick. And then on those actual cable jackets itself, you get a 64% reduction in strain, and what that means is that's a 64% reduction in pinch point on those bottom jackets, less likely to have failures. The other thing I want to point out real quick right now while we're talking about this is you've used Capfill forever. It works great. You love it. It's installed. Never had any issues. We're more robust, but you don't see a need to pay more when something's already working. Worst case, we're going to be the same price. Typically, I'm 5 to 10% cheaper than these guys, which means more money in your pocket. Mr. Distributor, it's more margin to you guys. And then, as mentioned, we have doubled out the capacity of a Capfill at Beeline, and so I'm going to get it to you faster. Call me tomorrow and say, hey, Mike, we just went overstock.com. They want to match their paint to red, and they need 1,000 sticks on site. Capfill is going to, if they can even get you a quote back on that, they're going to quote you 3 to 4 weeks, maybe longer on that. Beeline, I've seen them at 6 weeks. We're going to be 7 to 10 working days on even painting, and we're typically shipping out within 7 days, no problem. So that's just kind of tray side by side. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about is, as I mentioned, is labor savings. Think of tray as it's a giant erector set of Legos, right? We ship you these 10-foot sticks of tray. You get nuts and bolts. You take a pair of bolt cutters, and you form all your fittings on site. And by fittings, I mean your T's and your 90s and your intersections to create a grid around the space. Take your 10-foot span. I need to create a swept 90. I start cutting out sections of metal, snip, 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 all the way around. I manually bend the tray. I use splice kits to put it back together to create my swept 90. depending on the experience level of the technician that's doing that, is what gives you your variances. So you have variances in install time, you have variances in the outcome. So say I have two technicians in this room right now. We have a 90 in this corner and I have a 90 in this corner. Technician 1, technician 2 are putting them in. This technician could take 15 minutes to create that 90. This guy could take a half hour to do it. You could have sharps on one that's grabbing your cable jackets, and one looks nice, one looks rigid and rough up in the ceiling. So the variances in look and variance in install time. So what we wanted to do was come up with solutions for you guys that will address that and make your installs look cleaner and going faster. So the first thing that we did was we wanted to address any of your sweeps. If you have a swept 3-degree piece, if you have a swept 45 or swept 90, we came out with a machine. We call it the configurator. And so what that does is we take a straight 10-foot section of tray. It can be up to 6 inches deep, 24 inches wide. We drop it in the machine, and we bend it based on your specifications. Now, how do we figure out what the degrees are? Is we can actually take your drawings, because we have full-time engineers, send your drawings in. We'll do your takeoffs. We'll create your bill of material for you. We can identify where those sweeps need to be. So we can label it, building 2, level 7, building 3, level 4, whatever it may be. Pre-bend it to your specifications, ship the bends along with your straight sections, hang your straights, hang your bends, move on. You no longer have splice hardware, you no longer have cuts, you're not weakening this tray, which UL likes, because you're actually gaining strength by crimping it like this. The other thing that you get is if you have no drop tile anymore, you have that architectural look that goes up to a clean ceiling, you have a nice architectural look. It looks better than nuts and bolts and everything else up in the ceiling. So that's configurator. When we first did it, you guys might have heard about it, and our hope and dream was to actually send out the machine if you guys had a large project. You could use it for the duration of the project. We'd send it back at the end. That worked really well for a little while. Problem was we'd come out and teach people how to use it. Once we left, there was issues, right? You bend it backwards, you bend it wrong, you're not the experts on it. So we decided to just bring all that in-house. So we can still do that today. There are some limitations, as I mentioned, 6 inches deep, 24 inches wide on the tray. The other thing we wanted to address was T's. Anytime you have a T, or you have a solid 4-way intersection where tray intersects itself, or if you need a reducer, let's say I have 2 different size trays in one building, I'm dropping from an 18 down to a 12-inch wide tray, I want to be able to address that, minimize the cutting, minimize the differences in the install. So what we did was we come up with a solution called Preform. It's a knockdown solution. It's 6 parts and pieces. You order it 1 part number and you get a complete system. This is an example of a 90 that I'm going to show you. So this is the base plate. As you can see, it's made of sheet steel. We press break it before it goes out of the factory. It shows up. Dive it under your rib wires. Dive it under your other rib wires. I pre-punch these little squares in here for you. That way you put your washer supports on the bottom. Self-tapping screws down through. That will lock this whole piece together. The sidewalls ship alongside it. They're flame-rated polymer. Can be left in a plenum environment. Think of this like a plenum cable jacket, but it's flexible and easy to use. All this guy does is snap into place. Just like that. My outer wall ships along with it. It's going to be a bigger piece. I'm going to put it in this exact same way. I've got these WBT clips on here so it's not going to fall in, but you can kind of get a visual on it. If I hold it like that, in a matter of 5 minutes, your 90's put together. I do pre-punch the sidewalls with a little hole, so if you want to put a mechanical fasten for a splice kit to really lock this guy into place, that's there for you. But they are pretty rigid even without that. The other way we can do these sidewalls, let's say you go back to that overstock.com example I used earlier. If I have red tray and I want this solution to be red, I can powder coat the base, no problem. But these sidewalls can be done in sheet steel, that way they can be powder coated as well to match the whole solution. This though, the polymer is by far the more popular way. Because it's flexible, it's easy to pop in. I stock them though only in white and in black. So that's Preform. And if you would, so you can kind of see examples of what we can do, flip to page 7 in your catalog, and on that page you're going to see you see example of T's, 90s, reducers, and by reducers I mean, so if I'm running down a hallway, I've got an 18-inch wide, I need to funnel down into a 12-inch wide because I've got a conduit or an air duct. You drop it in like a pizza pie wedge, pop your sidewalls in, you'll see it on that page, and you move on. The same true with the T's. You can run a perimeter tray around this building of 18-inch. You can have a 4-inch tray out over your cubicles to drop off your single cables, and you just pop in a T and your reduction's done for you, as you see on the page. Also, this is where I want to show you guys a couple examples of live install photos of so you can get a kind of get a feel for what an actual install would look like with preform. Right, pass that around. So that's preform. Next thing I want to show you guys is actual hanging method and what we've done there. So really there's two main ways that you'll install tray. It's going to be in a raised floor environment, so it'll be underfloor. And if you look through our catalog, you will see we have a full solution for that. We have stanchions, we have underfloor supports, we have all that. But when hanging from the ceiling, which is probably 90% of installs, and you're using threaded rod, this is our standard ceiling support profile, or you have a center hanger style profile. Tray sits on top of that, right? My threaded rod up to the ceiling. It suspends my tray in the air. Every time I have two 10-foot sections of tray that are going to come together, this is where I use my splice kits, right? My nuts and my bolts to lock them together. Depending on the width of the tray dictates how many of those splice kits I'm going to need. So if I'm a 4x18, that's going to call out for 8 splice kits every single time two sections of tray come together. Splice kit, splice kit, splice kit, splice kit, all the way across just to lock them together. It gives me my mechanical fasten, gives me my U-up bond, as well as my lock. So what we've done to try to avoid the quantity of splice kits needed on an install is we've re-engineered all of our supports. So see these little U-grooves that are cut in the side now? You shoot these in every 5 feet. Support your tray in the middle, just like a standard ceiling support like you've always done. But now, at the end of your tray run, rather than splicing the two pieces together, you drop it into the channel. Take your next piece of tray, my next 10-foot section of tray, that's going to drop into this channel. I'm going to put this washer support over the top to lock the two pieces together. That's going to give me my ground if it's galvanized tray. And so now what I have is this is not only my support, it's also my splice point. So you just eliminated about 5% of your bill of material because splice kits are about $1 a piece, give or take, and the labor to put each of those nuts and bolts on. So it's a big labor savings as well as a material cost savings overall. So that's no splice. The other things I want to go into with you guys is painted tray, as we're talking about, it's become more and more popular. I'd say painted is probably 50% of what we sell anymore because of open architecture. You walk into commercial space like this, and it goes all the way up. You don't have the drop tile anymore. You have a painted white or painted black ceiling. You can see the ductwork. Everything's fully exposed. And so you invest, or the end user invests, in a painted white tray or a black tray, a pewter tray, to go up and be mounted in that ceiling. The problem then becomes your contractor, your datacom contractor comes in and they pull blue data cabling through this white tray against a white ceiling and kind of avoids the whole purpose of that cloud ceiling. The legacy way, the historical way of hiding the cabling was two ways. One, the painter would come in after the tray was installed, after the cable was pulled, and spray the bottom of it. That voids your cable jacket warranty. You don't want that. The other way of doing it is sheet steel. Take a 5-foot section of sheet steel, which we still have in our catalog, powder coat that sheet steel, you lay the 5-foot sections across the bottom. It's heavy, it's really expensive, and quite frankly, it's a pain in the ass to work with. So what we did was, if you remember that sidewall material I showed you guys earlier, that flame-rated polymer, we take this in a thinner gauge. So if you're using a 2x4 white tray, you order that in 2x4 white. We pre-score it in-house. See the score lines to whatever size tray you're using. So if you're using 2x4, this is an example of that. I can ship this to you in a roll. The roll up to 250 feet continuous, so it's easy to maneuver around the job site. I roll it out, I form up the sidewalls, I drop it in. Now it gets my white ceiling. I have a solid bottom, solid sidewall basket tray in white. You can put blue cable, red cable, whatever cabling you want through there. I stock that in white, and I keep stock in black. And here's an example of what that looks like. Here's a black solid tray. So now you have that up against your ceiling. It looks really clean. The cable's well hidden, and quite frankly, you're also saving labor because you no longer have to comb out your cable bundles. It doesn't have to look pretty in there. You can just lay loose in there. Those are kind of the main things that I want to touch on with you guys today. We have some other innovative products as well, some new waterfalls, some different things that we're doing. We have a cable dropout that's pretty cool. You guys can flip through the catalog to see all those. Other thing I want to just reiterate is, even though I showed you guys labor savings products today. We showed you guys the configurator. We talked about preform for your intersections, your 10s and your 90s. Keep in mind that you don't have to use these products. If you flip through our catalog, you're going to see all the traditional stuff. You're going to see the nuts and bolts. You're going to see standard splice kits and splice bars that you've done for 100 years with cable fill. We just wanted to give you options 4, 5, and 6 that you didn't have before. If you want to just use our straight sections and our splice kits, perfect. Cut it like you always did. Bend it in the field, no problem. You're still going to save money because we're still going to be more aggressive on price versus cable fill in our straight sections and our splice hardware anyways. Last thing I want to point out that I forgot was our painted tray is UL listed. You'll see that in our catalog. You're going to ask, how's painted tray UL listed? It's because we take the crazy little step. Every time we're going to send to our painter, we mask off the ends of our tray. Right? We put polymer clips over the end. It shows up to you guys. You're going to see these bulky little clips. You'll take them off. I've exposed pre-galvanized steel that runs through there. As soon as I put my splice hardware on, I'm grounded all the way through. You're UL compliant. So that's why you will notice it's a UL listed painted tray. And with that, we pass around a couple photos so you guys can take a look at live installs, but let me know if you have any other questions on this stuff.